Opening to plan. There we go. Okay. Welcome everyone to a new recording of Least Worst Practices, the webinary, podcasty online thing where I chat to awesome people in the Atlassian and Agile universe. And we talk about how there's not really any true best practices or a best practice overall, but there's lots of things you might want in your toolbox that you can bring again and again to teams. I'm thrilled to have Andy from our friends at Perforce and Gliffy. I promised him that we won't talk about the election and try and make some jokes and analogies about team working there, as it is the morning after or morning during, depending where you're counting. But Andy, like, who are you, and like, what's your tip that you'd like to share with everyone, and you bring to teams often?
Yeah, thank you, Kit. So I'm Andy Bryl. I'm the partner sales manager at Gliffy, which is a Perforce product. I've been selling Atlassian now at Gliffy for over 2.5 years. And before that, I worked at Adaptivist, which is one of the Atlassian resellers. So going on 8 years now, I've been selling Atlassian tools and selling Gliffy. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is obviously show off Gliffy, right? Not give you the full sales pitch, but just one of the practices that I like to talk to people about using the layers tool, because when we talk about best practices, for me, sometimes I look at like a workflow and I just get totally overwhelmed by it. And I think what Gliffy can do is kind of simplify it. So kind of make it, in my opinion, kind of a better practice to use, if that makes sense. But what I'm going to do now is kind of share my screen. And then as you can see here, I've already got Gliffy opened up on my screen here. So what I actually wanted to do was kind of show you just briefly kind of a workflow here. So if I click this out, so with this workflow, kind of logging in, signing up, and so forth, to me, when I first see something like this, I don't know about you, Kit, but I get kind of overwhelmed. I see all these different steps, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, can we simplify this, right? Like, can we make this look easier? For me, I'm like, let's get to the point. Like, is there kind of just one step here? Are there two steps? Like, let's use Gliffy here to kind of make, sense of this. So what I'm actually going to do is click on our layers tab right here. So when I click on it, you can see I got step one and step two here. What I can go down is to the layers tab. I can click on step one, for example, and then let's only do it for journey from login. And we'll save it and then go to step two, same as before, and we'll have it for both. So when we save it, I'll go back to Confluence and kind of show you just how dynamic this will be as it saves for us. Give it some time because this is kind of a nice workflow. So here we are. So as we go back here to our user journey workflow, when you just click on step one, how dynamic it is, it only will show you then the step one. So for me, for best practices, it's like, look, if you just want to have some buttons here, make it a dynamic, workflow for you, to only show you like one step of the process, because maybe you don't need to show all the steps. Maybe you don't want to overwhelm everyone with like with everything you see here, password created, set password, confirm password. Maybe step one is only what you're looking for. You can use Gliffy to actually kind of sweeten it up, make someone say, okay, like this makes a little bit more sense to me. I'm not totally overwhelmed looking at this whole user journey for everything. So that's what I wanted to point out, Kit, is just using Gliffy to kind of just make these things a little bit easier, make it a little bit nicer, make it a little bit more dynamic for you as you kind of look at kind of workflows, and hopefully kind of not give you a headache like what I get sometimes looking at these big diagrams. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. So let's use
Yeah.
layers to actually kind of sweeten the deal for you.
I could definitely relate. I remember back in the day, pre-COVID, like rolling out big A0 kind of customer journey flows in paper, and then trying to get like an audience to like review them and interact. And it's just like you see people glaze over immediately, right? Even clever, engaged, like passionate people, it's just too much stuff. So I feel like I'm a big Gliffy fan. This is great, but like as well as Gliffy, you could just take this point further and be about like really think about how much information is too much information for your audience, right? And especially when you're visually communicating, just targeting things a little bit more is great. I feel like for me, the power of something like Gliffy and like anything embedded in Confluence is just that lightweightness to things being there as well. So like we've all seen other flowchart tools from large providers around things where you end up with something really massive and it's like only the one person with the license can edit it and everyone else is stuck with PDFs and what have you. And I really feel that something that's immediately interactable, is that a word? Like, easy to interact with, probably the way to like phrase it, It's way more powerful. It's kind of usable. People can edit things. So yeah, right, really, really good.
Right. I didn't want to say anything political, but you kind of got me. Yeah, there was a US president, I won't say his name, but he used to say to his cabinet, this is pretty famous now, if you can't explain the problem to me in 30 seconds, you don't know the problem. And I
Mm,
think with Clippy and using the layers tab, like you said, try not to overwhelm people. Like even the smaller workflow, what I just showed, like have multiple steps, but just what's really important maybe is only just a few steps on that user journey. And then you can have layers to click on step two, step three, step four, to just not overwhelm people. You know, you might just need it so really basic as a yes or no, and then arrows pointing for what happens if you click yes or no. And then that's it. And if you want to have a deeper discussion, obviously, then you have more tabs and everything else up. So I
mm,
always try to think, keep it simple, 30 seconds or less. That's usually what a lot of people's attention span is, myself included. So I think, yeah, making it easy for everyone to see, making it not intimidating, and just kind of that you want to click on these buttons, that you want to move forward. I think that actually makes everyone kind of want to see what you've created instead of just saying, let's look at this big flow chart of 40 different steps. Like you said, everyone's eyes, you can see it. They glaze over, or they're just overwhelmed, or they just think, you know what? I'm going to check email for the next couple minutes. That's what you don't want. So I think condensing it down and yeah, explaining the problem or explaining the thing in 30 seconds, getting your attention going with it, I think can go a really long way.
yeah. And it wouldn't be 2024 both without us making an election joke, but also talking about Gen AI, right? We have to mention Gen AI and everything this year. Like, what difference do you think bringing in our robot friends is going to make to this problem area if we fast forward maybe like 12, 24 months? Like, will it be helping with this kind of tackling of the visual overwhelming information overload?
I think so. The reason why I think so is because with Rovo, to me, there's two big things that are important, and one is the enhanced search tool. So previously, using Atlassian search, you weren't able to search within every shape or drawing and inside some of these workflows, like with some of the apps, they just weren't used. Rovo allows you to actually have what, in my opinion, is a real search tool. So that's a big benefit. The other big benefit to Rovo is using the agents. That's what Atlassian has been touting, using the agents to do some of the, Jira tasks that maybe you don't want to do, right? Some of the boring ones to make sure that, your Gantt chart lines up and small things like that. So I definitely think Rovo is gonna, hopefully help people um, just kind of make things easier. I don't want to use kind of these corporate buzzwords of like, we're gonna streamline information and all that nonsense. To me, Rovo is with AI is just what I've used it for and just making things just a little bit easier for me and starting from there. You don't need to just go full head of steam into AI and think, oh yeah, we're gonna, do this and that and use it for hours a day. It's like I think if you use Rovo in particular for just a couple times during the day, it definitely pays for itself and you definitely get the hang of like how important, how powerful it can be. So that's my kind of, less than 1 minute kind of idea thought for Rovo. I think what it is good. I think it will get better. But using the search tool and using the agents that they have, especially in Jira, I think it's going to help people out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting, guys. I still got excited when I first managed to find a genuine use case for generating mermaid code in GPT and then feeding it into Gliffy to make a process flow for a colleague a few months back. I feel like fast forward 12, 24 months, we're going to be able to ask an agent, whether it's Brovo or something else, to like re-explain this diagram to me or create a diagram that reads for a 5-year-old or any other kind of prompts that we're doing in text at the moment. And we're not far away from generating the diagrams for us and doing those things like natively, right? I, I don't know if I've been playing with something called Napkin AI that does diagrammatic kind of creation based on text and things. It's so close to being something that can stop me having to spend hours putting together PowerPoint slides with icons and things. So I'm really excited that that's something that's like quite close to us now, and that priority of visual communication can really be opened up for people.
Yeah, for me, I've always kind of been standoffish towards AI. I think it's been a fancy buzzword over the last kind of year to 2 years in tech. To me, you got to use AI in a way that you can actually see the benefit right here and right now and not towards the future state. And I think, yeah, like you said, with, asking ChatGPT to write mermaid code and then pasting it into Gliffy, like you can physically see how that works because I can't code to save my life. I can never write code. So asking AI to do that for me, I'm like, oh, I can see the benefit. Like anyone can ask it to write code. You can put it into a product such as Gliffy. It can actually make the workflow for you. Like that to me, like connects all the dots of actually using AI and then, making it work, making it something simple. Many years ago, my mom had never used the internet before. And I was like, okay, I got to start small. I got to give you the sales pitch. And I was like, we'll just start with your online banking because years ago, people are probably too young for this. You used to have to like manually write down your checking, and then she used to actually call the bank. There's a phone number you would call, and it would tell you your balance. And she would do this like, every other day to check the balance. I was like, no, you don't need to do that. You can go online. You can actually see everything. You can actually see your check when it was deposited and so forth. And now, she lives in this world where she honestly, I think, checks her checking account like multiple times a day, like a lot of people do. But I think that's the example. Like you got to start small. You got to start with one thing that you maybe do every day. And if you can see the benefit in AI just doing that one thing, that will lead you to use it for a multitude of things, like what she does now with using the internet for not just using it for online banking. So I always tell people start small with AI, use ChatGPT for one thing, have fun with it, and just go from there. And don't feel overwhelmed because it is overwhelming to start off, and a lot of people just kind of give up. But don't do that because I think the future of using AI, I do think it's going to benefit a lot of people in their jobs.
Awesome stuff. I feel like we managed to tie the two together at the end with your last sentence as well. So, really lovely tip from Andy from Perforce and Gliffy about not overwhelming your users using things like Gliffy's layers to help interact and focus on what's wrong. And Andy, if people want to hear more from you or friends at Perforce, like where should they find you online?
So don't check my social medias because then you will really see what I felt about the election. But my email is abryl at perforce.com. So it's ABRYL at perforce.com. But yeah, I'm also on LinkedIn, Andrew Brill. My last name again is BRYL. So reach out to me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email. I plan to be at the next Atlassian team event, which is actually going to be in Anaheim in April. So I'll be there in person. So yeah, I live in San Diego, so if you're not in the San Diego area, it might be kind of hard to reach me. But look me up on LinkedIn, shoot me an email at abril@perforce.com, and yeah, definitely want to connect with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andy. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kit.
Okay.